Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. I hope your week has been a lot better than most people I've been speaking to this week. A lot of people have been sort of saying to me they're a little bit fatigued about everything that's going on around them in their own local environment this week. And I suppose every now and then we've got to have a time where we're not necessarily having an off week, but a time when I suppose we slow down a little bit, have an opportunity to regroup, even have a little bit of a whinge every now and then. I think that's healthy for the soul. We can't always be positive and upbeat and looking at everything through rose-coloured glasses and saying the world's full of sunshine. There has to be some grey days as well, even for me, and I'm one of the most optimistic, positive people that you could come across. But I do have my down times like other people. They might only be for a few minutes or an hour at a time, but we all experience them. And I think that's really important part of understanding who we are as human beings, that not every day is a sunshine day. And sometimes we just literally feel like the card that I've drawn for this week, the Eight of Swords, which is the card of frustration, feeling bound and gagged. Now, I know many of you are sort of saying to me, you feel that way, that you feel like this COVID thing's gone on forever and can't we just throw it out the window and let the sunshine in and just have a life again of no restrictions, no changes, no anything. Let's go back to the world that we had, that we really probably didn't appreciate at the time, that how much liberty we had and how much feelings we had to be able to just do as we pleased. And we grumbled our way through life saying we didn't have enough money or enough downtime or enough this or enough that. Then suddenly we were presented with so many other options that we suddenly realised that what we had before was pretty damn good, and we'd give anything to be able to go back to that. But I think part of this frustration or this feeling bound and gagged coming out this week, particularly with this card, is about messaging. It's about the messaging that we're getting from the people that are supposed to be in leadership. And I speak with lots of people around the world, and everybody's sort of sharing with me their stories of local environment and local things that are going on with their politics in their country, in their nation. And everybody seems to be sharing with me a very, very similar message. It's like, I'm so sick and tired of the people that are in politics, the people that are supposedly leading the nations and the countries of the world, changing their messaging to suit themselves. It's like, oh, good, what slogan will I come up today with for an advertising campaign? It's like throwing crumbs to the chooks. And I think people are getting a little bit tired of that. So it doesn't surprise me that people are sort of starting to question or switch off and say, I'm in overload, I've had enough of this. And that takes me into the astrology section of the week, because I really do want to sort of talk about this a little bit more. We've got Mercury in Leo at the moment. Now, Mercury's the planet of communication. It's where our thought patterns come from. It can be either very sort of upfront, or sometimes Mercury can be a little bit deceptive, depending on which hat of Mercury, I suppose, that Mercury chooses to get on today out of the closet. But it's interesting because Mercury's sitting in Leo, which is where Mercury's strutting his stuff like on the centre stage. Doesn't that remind you of a politician? Seems to be every hour they're coming out with a new slogan or a new idea or a new way we're going to combat COVID, you know, whether it's we've all got to be vaccinated or we're going to have a passport or we're going to do this or we're opening this up and you can't do that. And it's like, it's very confusing and it's very overwhelming. I don't know about where you're living, but where I live in Australia, we have 6 states and 2 territories, and not one of them can get on the same page. They all have a different set of rules for their own local state or territory. And then we have supposedly a Commonwealth or a federal one, and it's sort of like you turn the news on and you just want to turn the television back off again because it's just so confusing with all the messaging. And I'm hearing people saying that from other parts of the world too, whether it's the USA, whether it's the UK, whether it's Ireland, whether it's Italy. It's like the messaging is sort of so centralised or so localised, and then you try and put it into a country area, and then you try and fit it into the globe, and it's like, no wonder we're all feeling a bit bound and gagged. We do have the sun in Leo, so the sun in Leo is going to brighten our spirits a little bit, hopefully. The sun in Leo is, to me, always a time where we should be starting to feel a little bit more positive. It's a time where some people find that their temper can get a little bit frayed, because you get a little bit frustrated with people that aren't sort of keeping up with you or not listening to you. And it's like, oh, look, I haven't got enough time to stand here and repeat myself 3 times. I've told you once, you should have been on board. So just watch your temper a little bit this week and the coming couple of weeks, particularly. Not everybody's at the same pace as you are, and sometimes people need to take it a little bit slower so they can absorb it, because there's just been so much that they've had to absorb and do, and maybe they're running out of a little bit of puff in themselves. So we also have the planet Mars in Virgo at the moment. Now, anytime I sort of see Mars in Virgo, Mars is the planet of action and drive. I always think of it's a time that we really need to reassess our physical health. What are we doing to look after ourselves? It's that time of the year where we need to reassess what food we're putting into our mouths. Are we getting enough sleep? Are we getting enough exercise? Is it time to look at your physical health and maybe go and get a checkup with your local doctor? Maybe it's that time to just sort of make sure that you're running on all cylinders, because we've got some busy times ahead of us. So we need to make sure that we are in tip-top condition. For those of you that might be contemplating or looking to go into a new relationship, we've got Venus in Virgo also. Now, Venus in Virgo sometimes can make us a little bit too critical or a little bit too nitpicky about the type of person or the type of relationship that we'd like to attract. Or if we've just started a new relationship, we're certainly putting the other person well and truly under the microscope, and not just once, not just twice, maybe 10 times. And then we're sort of thinking, oh, maybe you don't quite measure up to my exacting standards of what I want. Can I just make a little suggestion? We're all human. None of us are perfect. Not even, Frank Sinatra, and He Did It My Way. Was he perfect either? So we do have to make some allowances that people are human, and they may not quite measure up to this amazing pedestal that we want to put them on. Now, I want to talk about the retrograde planets. Now, retrograde planets means that they seem to be going backwards in our universe. Now, at the moment, we've got Jupiter, the planet of expansion, luck and opportunity, has slipped back into Aquarius. Now, why is this so important? Well, it's so important because Jupiter is supposed to be showing us how to expand our opportunities, is to sort of make our world a better place, start to create luck and opportunities for it. Now, while Jupiter is going seemingly backwards in Aquarius, it means now some of the ground that we were starting to make is sort of feeling like it's becoming stagnant, feeling like we're becoming caught. Now, we will be in this energy until October 18, so we've still got another 2 and a bit months of this energy where things that we thought we were starting to make progress with are now seemingly stuck or going backwards. Now, I want to relate this more on a global level. Yes, it's a personal thing as well. But if we look at it on a global level, we were sort of hurtling along, starting to get COVID-19 under control. We were starting to roll out vaccines around the world. And, I'm not saying that COVID was anywhere near under control, but we started to feel like we had some tools in our toolkit that was going to help us beat this or bring it under control. And it was like, we had the team of wild horses, charging towards the finish line. And then all of a sudden, it's like 3 of the 6 horses sort of fell over and broke their legs. And we're sort of, going on half the horses that we had to begin with. And it's a much slower situation. Yes, it may appear to be that way, but sometimes I think we've got to sort of have something like Jupiter saying to us, hey, hang on a minute. Yes, we got off to a flying start, and yes, there was a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. And now all of a sudden people are sort of looking at it and saying, look, maybe getting vaccinated is not such the right thing for me to do. It's too hard. It's too difficult. I can't get time off work. There's not enough COVID in our area. Why would I worry about it? I'm not in the age group that's going to get sick because I'm young and I'm fit and I'm healthy. And these are all the things that can be sort of stirred up by a retrograde. Now, look, I'm not blaming Jupiter for this, but what I'm saying to you is don't get complacent. Just because Jupiter is not keeping to continue to expand your horizons and your opportunities and creating openings that, you wanted to continue to move along, look at this time and say, okay, why has Jupiter slipped back into Aquarius? What do I need to be focusing on? what are the breakthrough situations or the breakthrough things in my life or the opportunities that maybe I've missed or I became complacent with. And that's why I'm bringing up COVID. If, you're a person that wants to get vaccinated and you've put it off, please make the effort to go and do so. Look, I'm not going to sit here and preach to you and tell you what's right or wrong for you to do. You can do that yourself. But there's enough information out there for people to make informed choices. And it's really interesting because we as human beings, we get so far and then it's like we drop the ball and we sit on it and we say, it's all too hard, I can't be bothered. When we're almost so close to sort of maybe getting to the finish line, it's like, we're yards off the finish line and we sit down and have a rest and say, I'll do that later. Well, that's exactly what a lot of people seem to be doing. And I can understand government's frustrations, but governments are only as good as the people that have elected them. And maybe if governments themselves stopped sort of running around trying to turn COVID into something political and maybe looked at the welfare of the people and looked at how the people are feeling and started to try and be a little bit more human and speak to people as if they're people instead of giving them marketing slogans and targets and making us all feel like we're back in school and we're not paying attention to the teacher and we're all going to be sent to the headmaster's office or the principal's office soon because we're naughty. Instead of that, maybe looking at what people are trying to say and trying to understand how people are feeling tired and feeling frustrated and feeling as if everything's not as easy as what it should be. It's pretty easy to wane your enthusiasm about doing what you know is the right thing or the thing that you were going to do because it's not made easy enough for you to do it, or the reality of life kicks in where you need to go back to work and you need to be earning a living and you need to be putting food on the table and trying to get your life back to some normality. And if then trying to fit in a vaccine or doing something like that doesn't slot in easily, it sort of can be pushed to one side. So I really want everybody to sort of look at what was happening in the early part of this year. Where were you hurtling along from? Were you starting to sort of open up with new ideas or new potential ways of making further income, or were you making some major family decisions? I want you to go back and try and move yourself back into that happy place. And then you'll find then that will help you start to break up the restrictions that you felt in your life over the last few months with Jupiter retrograde, and you'll start to get opportunities starting to open up for you. We also have Neptune, the planet of illusion or delusion, which is retrograde too, which Neptune is the creativity. It's where we sort of, need to do a little bit of daydreaming or wishful thinking. Now, just because Neptune is retrograde doesn't mean that all of our creativity is flown out the window. It just means that we have to sort of harness it a little bit more. It may be the time where, you do allow yourself a little bit of time off and watch a movie or listen to some favourite music and things like that, and allow yourself that luxury of doing a little bit of daydreaming. And that may also help, kick Jupiter along and start to open up opportunities for you. Neptune will be retrograde until December 1. Now, it's interesting, each week I talk about Pluto and Pluto being in Capricorn and how, Pluto's been there since 2008 and it's asking us to completely transform our lives. A lesson by Pluto is a lesson that's never forgotten. It's slow, deliberate and definite, and Pluto rules things like big business. I believe he's the one that's brought us COVID. And I also believe that Pluto is asking us to completely transform the way that we structure governments and monetary matters, whether they be for governments or whether they be personal. Now, for a very, very long time, I've had it in my head that Pluto's transit was going to finish in 2022. Don't ask me where I got that from. I've been sprouting that for many, many years now. It came across my desk yesterday that Pluto isn't going to finish until 2024 in January. So I do apologise. Maybe it was my positive outlook that was willing Pluto to finish his transit 2 years early so that we could all sort of start to feel like we're out of this very incredibly long process of Pluto trying to transform the world and trying to improve climate change and trying to get us to all look at our finances and the things that were important to us in maybe a slightly different way so we could make the world a better place. So I do apologise if I've given you a little bit of false hope that he was only going to be there till 2022. You're as disappointed as I am that he's going to be there for another 2 years. But look, we work with what we work with and we try and make the best of everything. So why don't we have a little chat with Melissa in Columbus in Georgia? Are you there, Melissa?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sweetie. How can I help you? Do you have a question I can work with, please?
Okay.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, Melissa?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if my mom was doing okay.
So your mum's
She's
passed
on
over,
that.
is she, sweetie? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Look, I'm sorry for your loss and losing your mum. I mean, whether it's been a recent thing or a very long time, it still doesn't make it any easier. Look, I can guarantee you your mum's okay. I've never had anybody come through from the other side, Melissa, and tell me that, they're not okay there. I'm not saying that they're comfortable with the fact that they've left the earth and they've left us behind and, they still long to be back here and be, living a life with us. But they usually tell me that, whatever was surrounding them in their lives before they passed over, if they were sick, if they had pain, if they had a disability of any kind, that they certainly don't have that anymore. What your mum is showing me directly for you, Melissa, is that she's showing me that there's a number of endings and transformations to take place. And she's showing me that that is really going to start to ramp up from the end of this month. So have you been actively working on bringing about change in your life this year and you're sort of starting to feel the momentum, the energy of that starting to build?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what she's showing me is that, look, you're very much aware of it. It's very much here. It's almost like I can say it's at the end of your nose and you can see it. But she's also asking me to share with you the majority of this is not going to ramp up till the end of the month, and we're only very early into this month. So I suppose what she's sort of suggesting is, and she's not telling you what to do, she's making a suggestion, is if you get the chance to sit down and give yourself a little bit of a rest or do something nice for yourself, then do it. Because after the end of this month, there probably won't be any time to do anything for you for some time. Like you're going to be very busy working on the changes that are coming in thick and fast. And you'll be sort of thinking to yourself, gee, it'd be nice if I'd only taken that time and did X, Y, Z for me, or I'd sat down and watched that movie, or I'd had coffee with a girlfriend, because there won't be that time. Are you planning on moving residence? Because she keeps showing me question marks over where you're living.
Yes, I do plan on moving, yes.
Yeah, but she showed me 2 question marks. Now, I can only take from that, Melissa, have you not decided where you're going, or are you questioning, I know I'm going to move, but I'm not sure when? Because I felt there was sort of like 2 prongs to this.
Yes, it's actually kind of both. It's kind of both. I haven't really decided, and then what time is going to be the best time to make the move.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why she was showing me the 2 question marks. And she was sort of sharing with me, like, there's no urgency on that. Like, let that come to you. Like, it's not, at the end of the month, it's not going to be the number 1 issue in the cab rank, or the taxi rank. It's going to be way down the list. There's other things that'll come before it. Did your mum have I was going to say an unusual way of looking at things if she had a lot of decisions to make? It wasn't that she ignored them, but she seemed to go into where she was singing, or she'd sing a particular song, and that was, you knew then mum was up to decisions. It was like she had some thinking to do, or some changes were coming. Well, she's sharing that with me again. It's almost like you've got to take a leaf out of her book. I don't know why, but she keeps showing me Doris Day. Now, whether that was somebody that she used to like, or she liked watching her movies, or there was a particular song, but I've got a very clear vision of Doris Day.
Wow. Yes. Yes, I'm always a fan. Yes.
Right. Oh, well, she's showing me Doris Day. So I don't know whether that means you got to, watch a couple of Doris Day movies and just let yourself chill or just, put some of her music on or something. She's going to, that's going to be make you feel closer to your mum. But that's what she was showing me. And at first I questioned her, and then she brought Doris in that big that I couldn't, not acknowledge it was Doris Day. It was like, well, didn't you see her the first time? Well, here, have a bigger picture of her. But your mum had a lovely sense of humour, and she's always with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, she wants you to love life again. That's what she keeps trying to say to me. It's time for you to laugh and smile and dance and just enjoy being who you are. You don't have to be anybody you don't want to be.
Thank you. Yes, that would be good.
Good. Well, I hope that's helped you, Melissa.
All right. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. We're going to talk with Angela in Birmingham in England. Are you there, Angela? Well, it looks like we've lost Angela for the moment, so I'll keep talking. It's always interesting when we connect with someone from the other side, and I know I say repeatedly on this show that I don't have a direct dial telephone or a cell phone that I can just dial up who you'd like to talk to, and I wish I did. But quite often, by just asking a question, the person, hopefully, that you want to connect with may just chime in, may just come through, like we did with Melissa's mum. She came through and she gave some very, very clear messages. And, sometimes I sort of question what they're showing me, like the instance there of Doris Day. I had a flash out of the corner of my eye of a Doris Day in a movie singing to her children. And I thought, well, what's that got to do with anything? And then I didn't pay any attention. So it was like there was Doris Day in full bloom. She sort of took up the whole of my eyes so I could see only Doris Day. So sometimes Spirit has a sense of humour from the other side is what I'm sharing with you. Are you there, Angela?
Yes.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, sweetie?
Pardon?
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please?
No, I don't.
Well, there must be a reason why you wanted a reading. You don't just sort of ring up randomly for a reading unless there's something that you need some guidance on. No? Okay, well.
I'm not sure.
Well, in my experience, Angela, most people reach out to get a reading because there's something that's bothering them or they need something answered or they're feeling uncomfortable. There's usually some reason that triggers you to get a reading. That's why I always ask, do you have a question? If not, I'll just go with what I'm being given. Have you not necessarily been feeling yourself lately, Angela? Because they're showing me as if you're sort of feeling a little bit flat. Is that how you're feeling at the moment?
Yes.
Yeah. Look, I don't know that there's necessarily any particular label I can put on that, and I don't want you to sort of start to feel as if there's anything seriously wrong physically or emotionally. I don't feel there's that. What they're showing me is that you've just been through so much in the last, I was going to say 7 or 8 years, and it's like everything's just sort of wants to chill out now. Every part of you just wants to just be and sort of not be responsible for anything more. It's like I just need a bit of breathing space. I need a little bit of time to just be, to just relax and just sort of let the world go by. And I'm sure one day I'll get some energy and I'm sure one day I'll be motivated enough to get up and sort of, take the world by storm again. But I think it's okay to just be at the moment, Angela. They're showing me this energy sitting around you, and I'm not necessarily saying as intense as it is today, till about October. So there'll be pockets there of where you're really enthusiastic and you've got all this energy and you want to get out there and do this and do that. And then the next day you'll get up and you think, oh, I couldn't be bothered. That's okay. It's all part of this cycle. Was there a major ending or something that changed in your life that you weren't expecting around April this year?
No.
I don't know why then they're showing me as if a door slammed or something changed, and I was being shown the month of April, and it was sort of the way they showed it to me as if you weren't expecting it. It was like it took the wind out of your sails, like I wasn't expecting this outcome, or I wasn't expecting whatever this was to have happened. They're just sort of saying to me, whatever it is, and this may come to you a little bit later, it may not be quite the way that I've described it, but you'll be able to put it into context later. It was definitely meant to happen. It was destined, and there was nothing you could have done, changed, or prevented in any way. This was destined to happen, and it has happened, and it was meant to happen. And it's now sort of saying to me, it's like we've closed a major book in your life. It's like you've completed some very, very big karmic lessons. And it's like, I want to give you a packet of gold stars and say, well done. You know, this might be partly why you're feeling so sort of drained at the moment too, because this did take an awful lot out of you. They're showing me some much brighter days heading towards you as the months become cooler around where you are. Are you intending to take a short journey soon to sort of a place that would be considered more rural or a more country sort of setting, you know, even for a couple of days?
Yes.
Because they're telling me and they're showing me that's going to be very good for you. It's like you sort of feel a lot freer in yourself, and it's like you wake up in the morning when you're on this little journey and you feel like you've got energy again. It's like, I'm glad to get out of bed, and I'm glad to sort of, you know, go and meet the day, and that's good. Look, I'm clearly not telling you that you're depressed. I want to be very clear on that. This is just a time when your emotions just seem neutral. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want to be very clear on that. This is just, you know, you've used a lot of your energy up, and it's now time to just recharge those emotional batteries. But as we head into 2022, Angela, I think the world will start to open up again. Lots of energy coming and lots of new things for 2022. So that's where we're going to leave Angela there in the UK. We've got less than a minute left of the show. So I hope for everybody around the world that's watching the show this week or watching it on Catch Up, that you start to sort of try and put a smile on your face and really enjoy this time of the year with the Leo energy, where we can all be a little bit more feisty and outgoing and sort of look forward to sort of some positive things. Try and take something positive off the TV. You know, if the news is depressing, you put on your favourite music or put on a movie or a mini series or a, you know, that catches your attention and makes you smile, because I think that's what the world's about, is that we all need to be able to smile a little bit more. I find when the weather's very cold here and it's winter time, I tend to sort of watch Christmas movies. I know it's way out of season, but that's what brightens my day and puts a smile on my face. And for many of us at the moment, we need to be looking for things like that, things to bring a smile to our face. All I can say is thank goodness for YouTube and all the devices that we have, and your Netflixes and your cable TV, because that's what does keep us smiling. So until next week, bye for now.